party people. Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, an RPG podcast built for two. I am your host, as always, Jeff Stormer. This week I am joined by Darcy Ross, who runs me through a wonderful game of Numenera by Monte Cook Games. The first game to use Monte Cook's incredible cipher system. Numenera is science fantasy set 1 billion years in the future, when Earth has come to be known as the Ninth World. The Ninth World is a place of savagery and sorcery, where long-lost technology from thousands of years ago has become indistinguishable from magic, and wonders and terrors of these old civilizations roam the planet. Heroes scavenge these ancient riches, encounter strange and unusual beasts, and go on epic adventures, exploring this fantastic world around them. It's super cool. I think that you're going to love it, and I think you should check it out. A link to buy the game can be found in the show notes. That said, let's throw it over to me in the past so that he and Darcy can get on with the show. Take it past me.
Thanks, past me. This week I am joined by Darcy Ross. Darcy, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, this is going to be great. I'm really excited about this. So, why don't, up top, you introduce yourself a little bit, talk about anything you've got going on. I know you're doing some cool stuff with Contessa that I want to talk about.
Yeah, so I'm Darcy Ross. I am a big Numenera fangirl, so it's very exciting that I get to run this for you. But in my other aspects of my life, I'm a biologist who studies snail shell development. So I study a lot of weird, squicky creatures that I like to put in games. And I also, I am a staff member of Contessa, which is an organization that promotes and highlights women in leadership roles in which includes, everything from game mastering to doing art and game design. And it's been really fun. And so we're gearing up to do our big Gen Con slew of events this year. So I'm really pumped.
That's super cool. It's super cool. You guys, there's articles on the site which are really good. I recently read your interview with Caitlin Bell. We featured Our Radios Are Dying a few weeks ago. Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's good stuff. Highly recommended.
And you played with Whitney, didn't you?
Yes.
Oh man, she's the coolest too. Strix.
She's super cool. She's great. She's so good. Yeah, that was a good episode. I really liked that episode. Yeah, so we're playing Numenera, Monte Cook Games. I'm very excited about it. So, what do we want to talk about with Numenera before we dive in? Anything of note?
Well, let's see. I usually have a short spiel, but I'm also happy to let you do it. It's a really cool setting, and we won't have much to talk about rules-wise before we can jump in, but yeah.
Numenera, it's super interesting. And feel free to pick anything I miss. Feel free to jump in. It's like it's the Ninth World, so it's like post, et cetera, apocalypse. Like, it's a post-apocalypse fantasy, but it's so far in the future that it's kind of, any hint of the society's past has sort of been washed away and sort of viewed as this, like, magical thing.
Right.
And so it's this world of, like, science, magic, and wonder that's just really interesting, and it takes from a lot of stuff that I really already am a big fan of, so I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. Cool. So that was a great introduction to Numenera. The line is usually, when I'm introducing the setting, I usually sweep my hand across and say, Numenera is Earth, 1 billion years in the future. And that's always an exciting factoid.
I love that. I'm really all about that.
Awesome. Yeah. But it's this great blend of science and fantasy because, there's all this tech left over from these gigantic civilizations, and they left behind Numenera, the namesake of the game. So a lot of this tech that's so advanced that it seems like magic to current day people come in the form of Numenera, which are ciphers and oddities and artifacts. They're sort of different bits of cool magical items you can get, which I really love.
Yeah, one of my favorite tropes in fiction is the idea of is that old adage of any sufficiently advanced thing is essentially magic. So this is a setting that really I love it. It's so cool. All right, so you're going to be running things this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I should go talk about my character a little bit.
Yeah, that would be great.
So I am playing Calandra. Calandra is a strong-willed nano who explores dark places. that means is she is a nano, which is someone that uses mystical powers, sort of drawing on that Numenera to sort of do crazy mind stuff. Her background is she was raised by another powerful nano who was, like, I imagine a great healer. And her mother helped many people when she lived, and so now she has sort of this sort of expectation of also being this sort of great healer. But that's not really where her heart lies. She's more interested in exploring things and sort of, going on adventure and sort of exploring these deep, dark caverns and things and stealing artifacts and that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm all about this character. I'm really excited.
Awesome. I'm really excited by her. Can I ask you what she looks like? The art in the Numenera book is really evocative, so I always like to get some of that visual in there.
Yeah, I think that she is sort of lithe would probably be the word I think I envision her as, is lithe, thin, lithe, sort of a little wiry.
Good for spelunking.
Yeah, exactly. I think she's got that kind of cave diver's build.
Awesome.
And I think she's sort of got a lot of tattoos, because I think that if she's a nano and her mother was a nano, I think that she probably has a lot of the visual distinguishers that she sort of fits into that place in society.
Awesome.
So I think she's kind of got, at least, if nothing else, like a really elaborate sleeve on her arm.
Oh, super cool.
Rune tattoos, yeah. I think she's got red hair.
Nice.
And she wears, she has her adventuring kit, which is just like a like a messenger bag almost. And she covers that with a big furry cloak.
Oh, perfect.
Like a half cape.
Oh, super cool. Oh, I love that. So Calandra, right?
Yes.
Excellent. So can you tell me just a little bit more about your mother? So you said that she was a very, well-respected nano who had helped heal a lot of people while she lived. So she's passed away. How long ago was that?
Yes. This was recent-ish. Recent enough where the expectation that I would sort of step into her shoes. Actually, I'm gonna say it was recent-ish, but she had been very old for a while. Like she was getting up in age, and so it was kind of already sort of a thing where people were already starting to look in my direction.
Yeah.
And I think that from there, so I think that it was still recent-ish, but I think it's been something where I've been fighting with that expectation for a little while.
Oh, perfect. Cool. Do you carry like a memento of hers or anything like that? I'm just curious, like, what other cool, weird stuff you have on her. You have a book on the Numenera, which will help you, kind of, if you have to consult something that's weird and tech related, that can sort of help you out. Is that her book or something, or?
Yeah, I think it was. I think that for this village that we come from, I think she was, like, the sort of scholar.
Super cool.
Yeah, I think she was the scholar, so I think it's...
Oh, man. It could...
Ooh, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, I think we're going to the exact same place.
They're her notes?
Yeah, I think it's her book.
Oh, that's so great. I love it. Oh, man.
So I think that even though she didn't in life approve of what I do, I think that I still carry her legacy with me in these notes that she took. And so we're sort of doing the same thing in different ways. Right.
Approaching it from different angles. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Well, I was thinking about setting your town in the steadfast country, so the relatively, more civilized part of the world of Navarene. And so that's where the amber monolith is. And so it's this giant floating golden monolith thing that's really important for sort of the steadfast politics, because it's where the first amber pope, like the first major business nano, who founded the Aeon priesthood. That's where he ascended this, legendary monolith. He found a teleporter that took him to this crazy, area, and he came back with a bunch of really crazy Numenera that gave him the power to start this whole priesthood of nanos who are major players in sort of the political game of the Steadfast, and also are major, people who go out seeking really cool high-end Numenera and taking it for themselves. So they're kind of, I imagine they're a little, their approach is probably not what your mother would have approved of, since she was sort of, be of the people, hang out with them, help them, and the priesthood is more like, hoard all the Numenera. But regardless, since you're in this area, there's a lot of crazy ruins and a lot of rumors of ruins that hold, everyone's hoping for the next Amber Monolith, right? And so I think that that might be where you met, why you met Vester, who's someone you wrote into your background. Yeah. So could you tell me his deal?
Yeah. Vester is a dealer of secrets who came to our town some time ago. He came, and I imagine that being a dealer of secrets, that's so when he rolls into town, it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Everybody's always wanting the next big scoop, and he's happy to deal them out for a price. So he rolled into town some time ago while my mother was still alive, and he had the promise of an artifact that was hidden, that he had just caught in wind of, and he couldn't really confirm it was true, but he had heard. And my mother warned me against being the one to run out and get it. But I did it anyway, and we had a big argument about it. But the important thing is that I proved I could do it. I proved I was good enough to, go and do the thing.
Super cool. So I really like that. So did you keep the artifact? Did you hawk it? What happened with it?
I think at my mother's insistence, I gave it up. Even though, my first instinct was to keep it as a trophy, I think that... the only way to settle that argument, those arguments you have sometimes where you're just fine, I will do the thing, even though I will follow your request to the letter, even though I disagree with the spirit.
Yep.
I think that's exactly how that ended. She was like, you're giving it away. And I was like, fine, I'm gonna give it away. But I'm not gonna, think that it was the right thing to do.
Right. I don't agree with you, still.
Yeah.
I will do this.
Yeah, we're still fighting.
Awesome. Super cool. So, I was gonna have this, adventure sort of start, I guess this is, the passing of your mother was pretty recent. But so have you been trying to step up into her footsteps, or have you been kind of off doing your adventuring and trying to avoid the big responsibility as long as possible?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Cool. You can think about that, but regardless, you get an interesting message from Vester that prompts your return to adventuring one way or another.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've been trying to do both, but really succeeding at neither.
Yes, perfect. That's
I think that I want, because I want to honor my mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to do right by her and by her legacy. But I am who I am, and I can't.
You're not her.
I'm at that weird point where I'm trying to do it both ways, and I just haven't figured it out yet.
Cool. Well, maybe we'll start with you, poring over your mother's notes, trying to, make some salve for a local, anesthetic or something, right? And that's when, something snakes up to your feet. And it is, a pretty expensive, but not uncommon, device that is a mechanical snake-like creature. It's sort of elongate, and you've recognized these as, people send important messages via them. So it sort of had crept into your home and curled up around your leg, and its little red eyes are sort of bleeping that it has a message for you.
I look around and make sure that no one is in the room, and then I real excitedly pick it up and activate the message.
Oh, super cool. So, you press in the little gem, red eyes, and the jaw sort of drops out, and, out pours a really small, maybe, quarter-sized glass sphere with an iridescent beetle-like creature scuttling about inside. And what also comes, and a small rolled up piece of, parchment that has a message on it from Vester.
Okay.
The message says, Kala, my dear, I, found a device that I believe may open a deeper, untouched area of the ruin where you found, the artifact of which we last spoke. Perhaps this will finally substantiate those rumors of an ancient people with the power to rejuvenate life. I give you this key with the hopes that you will perhaps throw any small favors my way of the smaller things you find in this ruin. Tit for tat. So I think he's trying to set up a relationship here now that he knew that you had gotten the artifact, which was kind of a big deal in the past.
Right. Yeah, that's really, that's an exciting letter to get. I'm really excited about this. Especially because, being a healer, trying to be a healer like my mother, I really get the sense that, if I could substantiate some of those rumors, then that would be really helpful. If we could sort of find a way to use that.
You'd be able to fulfill both parts of your life here.
Yeah, that would be so great. So really, if I'm being honest, I have to go explore this ruin. This isn't
right.
This isn't just for me. This is really for everybody.
Yeah, it's for the good of the town.
Yeah, right. This is so really, I don't even think anybody could object if I were to just, I don't know, sneak out in the cover of night just for security's sake. That's not because I'm trying to hide from.
Right.
That's nobody suggested that. That's
awesome.
So I think that's exactly what happens. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So maybe you spend the rest of the afternoon sort of packing your bags and getting out your climbing gear or whatever it is that Kalandra usually packs for these sorts of adventures. Dusts off her maybe explorer's pack.
Yeah, I think she spends a lot of the day visiting all of the people that had come to just checking in with all the people that had asked of her things specifically to make sure that because I imagine her stuff is already packed and on a coat rack somewhere so that she's just grabbing and going.
Awesome.
So she's going to spend the rest of the day just peeking around, making sure that everything is okay, so that as soon as she leaves, she can leave with the clearest conscience of everything's under control. Time to go.
Oh, perfect. All right. Well, the place you're going is, you had to dive into a pond, and it would take you, it's a couple miles away from the town. But it won't take you all night to get to. So if you leave in the cover of night, it'll still be night when you're coming upon the entrance to the ruin that you found the artifact in before. So,
great. Okay.
I don't know if it was pitch dark when you tried to enter the pond and get to the tunnel beneath it last time, but it is pretty creepy and pitch dark now. Do you want to wait until it's light out again and you have a chance of seeing, or take out a glow globe?
I think I'm just gonna take out a glow globe and just dive in, and because I think I'm comfortable with the darkness. I think
that's a great point. Yeah, of all the people, you probably don't even really hesitate at that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think I get just a little bit excited at the prospect of diving in with a glow globe.
Awesome. Cool. So this is not particularly dangerous unless you maybe take too long. So that if you sort of dive right down where you think this entrance to the ruin is, nothing's really going to have time to get at you. But why don't you make me a roll to see sort of if any complications come up? So this could be, look at your skills and see if you can think of something that applies, but it's going to be some kind of speed or might roll, I think.
Sure.
And I would say level, it's a difficulty 3. So you'd have to beat a 9 or higher without any effort or, assets, skills and things.
I do think it probably fits into my training for, searching, listening, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
I am trained in that, so I think so we'll go with that. I think that's the only one that really fits in with that, and I don't think any of my...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let me just look through my ciphers right quick.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure. Sense of smell. I don't think I'm navigating with my sense of smell, though I could.
You could. So just for the listeners, ciphers are the kind of commonplace one-shot magic items. Oh, I need to give you an oddity. I almost forgot.
Oh, yeah, right. Let me roll these you said 2 percentile dice, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I got an 83.
Okay.
And my second roll, 44.
Okay, so your oddity, which is not a one use, it just tends to be a little small trinket type thing. All right, so it is a hat that disappears when the wearer wishes, but returns in a few hours.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's pretty great.
That's pretty great.
So you've got Thor's hammer of a hat.
All right, I'm all in on this hat.
Cool.
So, yeah, I think the only skill that I'm going to really apply is my searching and exploring type stuff.
Right.
And my roll is a 15.
Oh my gosh, great. So you rock it. You know, as you're swimming down with that dim light of the glow globe in this murky pond, you know, you're sort of got your senses up on overdrive, and you feel you sort of sense, you know, you hear sort of the thrum of something with a heartbeat not too far away, and you sort of dive out of the way just as something kind of goes after you, but you totally get to the edge of the ruin before anything else can really go at your bright, tempting glow globe. So you sort of tumble through this circular opening. It leads into kind of a big hallway. And how you enter it is just by knowing the right spot. And there's no wall, there's no port or anything. It's just kind of a circular opening that you know to go through. And it's just where the water sort of mysteriously stays on the pond side and doesn't flow into the ruin. So this is all pretty old hat, but you get into a dry, nice, comfortable, hallway. It's pretty dim, but there's some strange, little, almost like circuitry looking, lit up lines along the walls. So you can kind of see. Yeah. So you've been here before. This is where you found the artifact. And it doesn't look too different now. But you kind of had gone down several types of hallways. And when your, secret keeper, Vestier, told you that, you know, he has this key to get into the other area of the ruin, you know exactly what he's talking about. So you had explored this really cool ruin and you found this sweet artifact, but this ruin had kind of been seen, you know, it had been raided at least once before, you know, in the last few hundred years. But there was this section of the ruin that you could not penetrate. You had, you know, you kind of had even some little explosives, and they weren't able to really put a dent in this thing. And so there's the end of a hallway that this region comes to, and it's blocked off by a really big, like 3-story high, circular golden, like door looking thing. I don't even know if it's a door, but like a big mural, like a big sculpted golden, you know, end to this hallway, right? And you couldn't make a dent in this thing. And so Vestier seems to think that this little beetle is going to help you get in the door, and he didn't tell you how. So what are you going to do?
That's Vester for you. I think the first thing that I do is I come through the doorway and I just sort of stand there, and I try to sort of keep it together at first, and then I just start laughing, because that was fun. I can't deny that wasn't fun.
Oh man, you're high on adrenaline right now.
Oh yeah. This is any pretense of this being there being anything for this job that's not personal has gone out the window now that I've gotten chased by a thing and I'm in a ruin. This is my vacation.
Aw.
So I think I'm going to take a look at the circuitry, like the lights on the wall.
Yeah.
And then just head down the hallway, depending on if something crazy happens.
Yeah, great. So it's not super far you have to go to get to this other area, but are you trying to pay a lot of it are you trying to discern anything from the circuitry on the walls, or just kind of watching them? I think the thing I'm trying to discern from them is I'm trying to get a sense of if they are, I guess, connected to something more tangible than sort of the just Numenera in the air. If that makes sense. Cool. So if they're linking up to something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you make me some kind of intellect check and tell me if, depending on how long you want to take, there's really no rush. If you want to sit here and take a good look at it, you could probably consult your book too and see if your mom had any notes. I'm not sure if this would be her bag exactly, but
I think at least right now, I think I'm going to do this on my own. I think this is my moment, and I'm gonna keep
Perfect.
it as such, even if it's probably a better idea to check the book.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I'm gonna call it a level 5 task to get something really powerful out of this. But some of your skills, your training, I think might come into play here.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm definitely spending. I'd say the 2 that probably jump to. Interesting. I'd say the 2 that jump to like looking through my trainings, which I should say now. I'm trained in resisting mental effects, tasks requiring focus and concentration, and then searching, listening, climbing, balancing, jumping, those sort of related things. So I think that in terms of like being able to focus and just like follow the lines of the circuits and things like that, probably ties in, and then just like searching through things. But I also think that like the difficult, like my inability to deal with like puzzles and stuff might hinder me here as well.
Yeah, so because it's puzzles and like lore / memorizing, I think that might be stuff that kind of should rely on other previous knowledge, whereas this is just kind of trying to intuit. Something
that makes
so
sense.
Strange that I don't think it quite applies here. So I think I will just give you, focus and concentration sounds reasonable. And possibly even the searching sounds kind of, since you're kind of following this circuitry as you're walking down the hallway and trying to, I think that might actually come into play.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm gonna roll
so
my
that takes it down
dice.
to a level 3, which is a 9 or higher. And if you wanted to take that down to a 2, you could spend some points from your intellect pool and spend effort to try harder on this task. But it's totally up to you.
I think that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Awesome.
So I'm going to spend my 3 points in intellect.
Minus any edge, which is like a discount. So probably just 2.
I have an edge of 1, so yeah, I'm going to subtract 2. So
Great.
that takes me from an 18 to a 16. So I have 16 points left in intellect. And I am going to... So I have to roll a 6 or better.
Yeah.
I rolled 7.
Oh, good. Excellent use of your effort then. Awesome. Cool. So, you're sort of, I'm even imagining you're like almost closing your eyes. Like you're so at home in the dark. Like you're really relaxed in this, ruin that you've already been in. You're comfortable here. You're excited. You're high on your own abilities. And so you almost close your eyes for a second. You're kind of touching the circuitry as you walk down the hallway. And as you're doing that, you feel, as you're tracing a single line of the circuitry, you feel yourself sort of like fall to the right, like into it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And as you open your eyes and look at your hand, you're holding like the wall has disappeared where that is, and you're holding that line of glowing circuitry, almost like it's just a wire now. So you seem to have, sort of activated some mechanism here. You sort of found the weak point and sort of pressed into a little secret compartment. And so you seem to be, you're probably still a couple yards away from what you thought was the area you would need the little beetle for. But you find yourself, you find that you've revealed a little alcove of really pristine, untouched, what looks to be some kind of lab almost. There are a lot of, translucent glass and sort of weird translucent synth. Like they almost look like art pieces, but they seem to have, there's an organization to them that based on, the training with your mother, you think can only be someone who's doing some kind of scientific study on something. And so, so you have access to a number of there are a lot of vials that you can take, and you don't think that you can quite figure out what they do right now, but they might be really interesting to check out later when you have time back at your mother's, little lab.
Well, then I'm going to grab a few vials right now and just sort of stash them in my explorer's pack.
Awesome.
And then make a mental note of this for later. In case, because the way I figure it, if I take a few of them, then if the rest of this turns out to be even if the rest of this turns out to be a bust, I can at least then fill my explorer pack with the rest of them. But if I find something more valuable later, I'm going to want to make sure that I'm not having to, like, spend time deciding what to keep.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna grab just, like, maybe 2 or 3 of the vials, and then turn my attention to the wall or the doorway.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So as you stash the vials and you, sort of step outside of the little alcove, you see that the wire that had let you enter this little alcove, sort of snaps back into place and a solid wall forms again. But you think that you could remember this spot and it could focus on it again to come back.
Interesting. Just a side note, I think it's really, I think it's really neat. I agree with you that I think the way that she does it is I think I close my eyes and feel it because, I have the scan ability. One of my, nano abilities is scanning, and I get the idea of the room. So I think it's probably the same sort of thing, where even if it's not as, like, precise, and I'm not getting that perfect 10 by 10 space, I still think I, like, close my eyes and I can sort of see the things taking shape.
Yeah, it's that kind of psychic tendril you're sending out, right?
Yeah,
yeah. That's so cool.
I just thought that was like just a neat tie-in.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you for mentioning that. I think that's really smart. Awesome. Why don't you make me one quick intellect check just to see if you can kind of get the sense of maybe one of those vials? Just because there are a bunch that probably did different things, but maybe you can figure out one of them real quick. So I'll call it an intellect level 2 task to sort of figure out the easiestly figure-outable one.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. I got a 12.
Okay, awesome. Do you have any cool idea for what the vial should be? I can come up with something, but if you have a cool idea, go for it.
I think I look at it, and I think I can see by the way that they're like, I think there's a liquid inside one of the vials.
Cool.
And I see some, like, bubbles that are moving in a way that bubbles don't move. And, like, I kind of, like, turn it upside, or I don't know, like, I do something, like, I fiddle with the vial, and I can tell that the liquid inside, like, floats.
Oh, cool.
Like, the liquid is lighter than air.
Yeah, awesome.
And I think that's what at least one of the vials is, and I don't know if I don't know if it's gonna do anything else, but that's pretty neat.
Super cool. Yeah, you think that this, the fact that it's in a little vial suggests that it might be something that does a similar effect when you ingest it, but no guarantees.
Right.
So that's really cool. Might be very useful in a lot of weird ways. Perfect.
One of Mother's lessons is you don't drink something unless you know exactly what it is. And, I learned it the hard way that she was right on that one.
Oh man, totally. The camera, zooms in on some weird scar that, always undulates on your shoulder or something.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that's the little alcove. So you find yourself faced with this, 3-story large, in diameter, giant golden metal worked door thing. And you have this tiny little quarter-sized sphere with a little beetle in it. How are you there's no obvious way to fit this together, so how are you gonna go about this?
What I wanna look for on the sphere is, the first thing I wanna do is check the sphere to see if it's like a perfect sphere, or if there might be a seam on it. Because I feel like if there's a seam on it, then I might be able to, then I suspect it might have something to do with the beetle and not even so much the sphere.
Yeah.
But if it's a perfect sphere, then I might have to look around for a place to put it.
Cool. So as you run your fingers over the sphere, you can feel that, like, when Vestier gave it to you, like, he must have dug it from some dirty, like, it has some dust and dirt on it, basically. He kind of stole it from some weird pile.
I lick my thumb and just give it, like, the biggest old shine. I'm, like, not even worried. Like, it's, like, just real, getting some real spit on there. Just, clean this thing off. Yeah,
after you're, like, your rigorous healer's, hygiene that you've had to keep up, getting back and dirty into the ruin, lifestyle. Cool. So you give it that shine, and as you run your fingers over it, you can feel that there, it almost feels like there's a little spider web of, like, fracture points, so that you think that, were you to, there's a question of whether it used to have a seam and then has just been really stressed over the years, or whether it's sort of intended to sort of shatter when needed, So if you try really hard, you think you can, possibly open it along that seam, but it would be pretty difficult. The easier way you can get the beetle out if you want, if you smash it. But that still doesn't tell you if that'll be the perfect thing to open the door.
Alright, well, yeah, then that's good to know, but I'm gonna study the wall to make sure that if I smash this thing, I haven't smashed my one key in.
Cool. Why don't you give me a roll to study it? And I'm going to give you an asset because you sort of, especially with your little alcove trick, you're sort of getting a hang of the way the logic of this magical place works. Like you kind of know a little more what to look for, fine lines, little, you know what to scan for, kind of, to reach out for.
Right.
I'm going to call it let's say a level 5 task to instantly seize on, the best solution here. But I would say, if you're focusing on it, that brings it down to a 4 because you're trained in that. You're searching for some kind of input. So that's a 3. And the asset to, you just get this ruin a lot better. So it's going to be only a level 2 for you.
Okay. For level 2, I'm not going to spend effort,
cool.
I think.
Go for it.
Rolled onto my pile of dice, which is
helpful.
The most uneven surface. I got a 2. I should have spent that. Well, it wouldn't have even made a difference. All right.
You got a number 2? Right.
I got a number 2.
All right. So you're having a lot of trouble finding the thing, and what actually happens is you think that you think that you might see a place where this should fit, but it's higher than you can reach. It's sort of at the top, and so you think you see a little indentation where the sphere might actually be supposed to fit. Yeah, so that's where you think it is. What would you like to do? You are good at climbing, but it
I am
will be
good
tough.
at climbing.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I'm going to do is I think I want to set down all of my things along the floor. Sort of using my adventure kit and I take off my cloak.
Yeah.
And I make a little almost like I guess it would almost be, I'm almost visualizing a prayer circle of things.
Nice.
And then I just sort of sit down in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I sit down and I stretch my legs out in front of me and I close my eyes. And I'm going to use my scan ability.
Cool.
To get a handle on if there's anything else in my immediate 10-foot vicinity.
Cool.
So I'm going to spend 2 intellect points. Do I subtract my edge from that? Or
you do,
is that just
yeah.
2? So 1 intellect point, so I have 15 remaining. And so I get I scan an area equal to a 10-foot cube, including all objects or creatures within that area.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm just gonna scan the general vicinity of where I am at the moment, along the wall.
Awesome. So as you're sitting there, and you can kind of tell me how information comes to you. I'm not exactly sure how this works in Kalandra's head, but one thing you find out is that, as you I'm thinking your scan gets you a little past the door sort of thing.
Okay.
And, you don't get any specifics, but you get this sense that there are a lot of really active pieces of Numenera humming silently. The sound is not going through the door, but you can sense as you reach out past the door, tons of pieces of Numenera that are currently very active, which is very odd for this ruin. It really must be as untouched as they said. So you can get that sense. The other thing you find is that since you're on the floor, there's a hidden mechanism sort of right kind of by your left foot. And you think that, if you sort of focus on it and trace a little bit of, that circuitry there's sort of a not glowing circuitry. If you sort of trace it, it'll pop it out. And you think that is some kind of mechanism that will help relate to this door.
Okay. I think that the way I get this information is I close my eyes and I open them. I open essentially my mind's eye, and it feels like I open them and I look around, and I'm just watching multiple versions of myself.
Oh, yeah.
Like, doing exploring things.
That's
like,
so
somebody
cool.
is literally, like, on the other side of the wall, like, poking
Yeah.
around, and then I look over and somebody's already fiddling with the mechanism.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm just watching, and I'm seeing other versions of myself as well, like, somebody's already up the wall and just, like, waving at me.
Yeah.
And I'm just, like, looking around.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, other things you kind of see just as fluff is that there are some small, like, little glowy bugs that are kind of around, and they seem to sort of follow the circuitry, and they seem to sort of follow the areas of active Numenera. So they might be actually, like, siphoning off energy down here.
Sure.
But those are other things, you see one version of Kalandra pick up a bug and sort of, she squeezes it a little and some, like, little energy sparks go off of it and, just entertaining herself. Cool.
Yeah, I think that's how I get information when I scan,
That's
is
so
I see
cool.
all the things that I could be doing, and I experience it all at once.
Ah, that's so interesting. So the you that activated this mechanism, you kind of saw that it's this rectangular stack of, like, little cubes, kind of, with open edges. So it's basically like, like a very small, tall shelf that sort of shoots up to the ceiling. And so it's whatever it may have been for. They're great handholds. Like, it's perfect. You can just, like, scale up the door perfectly. It looks like maybe it was supposed to be some sort of structural thing to, like, hang stuff in front of, but it's totally unclear what it was for exactly.
I mean, all that matters now is that it's a handhold.
It's gonna get you there.
Like, so, okay. Well, then I'm gonna open my eyes, and I'm gonna stretch, and I'm gonna, like, smile and nod, and gather up all of my things, put my cloak back on.
It was chilly.
And, like, just do the whole ritual. Yeah. Just do the whole ritual of, like, gathering my things, and I'm gonna try to use the mechanisms and the handholds to try to scale up the wall.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. You do it beautifully. Like, I mean, it's not even a challenge. The cloak is billowing behind you beautifully, and you get to the top and you see that little indentation.
All right. I'm going to study the indentation.
Uh-huh.
To see if it looks like the indentation is more suited for a sphere or for a little beetle.
Cool. Now that you're up here and you can whip out a glow globe really easily, it had looked like it was sort of spherical from the floor, but that's just because the beetle was so small. And it looks like this is, when you really look at that beetle, it's got a couple weird horn bits coming out of several of the segments.
Okay.
And you can see the little indentations where that fine little horn would fit. And so you do think that it's actually for the beetle.
Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to, if I can, I'm gonna try to pull apart the sphere, like, along the spider web, crack marks.
Okay, yeah.
And if I can't pull it apart successfully, then I'm just gonna smash it and try to, like, just slot the beetle in there.
Cool. So I'm gonna say that it's actually pretty difficult while you're up here to sort of, you're kind of have to deal with these handholds, and it's this awkward reach that you have to do. And the sphere is just pretty tough to open gently. So I'm going to call it, a level 5 task to open it in a way that sort of separates it, without shattering it. And it's going to be a speed-based, sort of dexterous task, I think.
Sure. And I don't think any of my skills are going to really help me out here.
Yeah, if you want to spend a few minutes, it might be kind of a focus thing, but it might be a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I feel like even then, I think it's something where
tough.
I'm like I'm hanging, so I don't even know if I'm going to have my full. Yeah, I think I'm just going to have to smash it. I don't even think I'm going to have to.
Cool. You can give it a roll if you like, but no worries if you just want to smash it.
I think I'm just going to. I think I'm hanging there and I'm looking at it and I try to
Yeah.
I picture holding like a handhold with one hand and trying to get it with my thumb.
Right.
And I'm just like, nah, I'm just gonna smash it.
Yep. Perfect. Cool. So you smash it, and little bits of strange glass, they shatter at first like kind of normal glass, and then they sort of flutter away like little bits of paper sort of on the breeze. But you catch the beetle before it, starts scrabbling away. And it seems to be changing its iridescence now that it's out. It seems to be getting very feisty. But I think, you were ready for this. You smash it into the little handhold, the little section. And as you do, you feel your hand kind of start to pass through this golden doorway. And you see that the whole thing, beetle and door, sort of turns to this fine golden sand, and it all drops below you. So you're kind of up 3 stories high, next to nothing now on this precarious little device that you're standing on. But you can see into a large circular room with lots of crazy Numenera inside. So you made it in.
See, this is what I was saying earlier, but the vials are great. I'm not knocking the vials.
Exactly.
But now I can see inside, and the last thing I'm going to want to do right now is unload vials, because that I'm climbing down this wall as fast as I can.
Right, exactly. Cool.
I think I almost go to jump, just run and jump, and then I'm like, and I go for the rope out of my bag, and I'm like, all right,
last minute.
Fine.
Cool. Yeah, so it's pretty dark in here. It seems like it's a little bit weird. So you get into this, you scale down, you're totally fine, you're safe. As you sort of enter, you see what the previous versions of you during your scan had seen, which is a lot of these sort of strange, lightly glowing, different colored panels that outline, now you can see, a large cylinder-shaped room. And so these panels sort of fit the outline all the way across. There's a center pillar that's it's like lightly orange and translucent, and sort of far away from all the panels. It's sort of separated a lot. And what you can see when you look up is that it seems to be strong glass. Like the whole top is made of this material you've seen elsewhere in the Ninth World. That's a really strong type of clear glass-like substance. And so you think that this might have once been above ground, and you could maybe have seen through to the sky here, but now it's covered in what must be lots and lots of drit, which is the sort of soil and non-inorganic, crumbling of old bits of tech. So you're sort of underground, but you think this tower used to be above ground. Cool. Yeah, so there's a bunch of panels. There are a couple little bugs that sort of skitter as soon as the door had turned to sand. And so lots of this seems to be working, but none of it's doing anything at you at the moment.
Well, that's a relief.
Yeah.
I take my wins where I can get them. I am going to, I guess just poke around and see what I can find. What jumps out at me is
cool.
What kind of the Numenera that really jumps out at me. If something literally were to jump out at me, I'm not gonna. if I had to run from a crazy thing, but
cool. Yeah. So, as you sort of pass around, you've heard of, Vestier had mentioned this rumor of this ruin was supposed to hold, artifacts of this culture that had really mastered the art of healing, right? And, you had seen some sketches of, the theories about what the devices might have looked like. And all the rumors say that, it was much larger than what this little room, this room's kind of big, but this is not, the end, you think. This feels like an entryway to something bigger, is kind of the sense you get. And you think it might have something to do with that central cylinder, whether it's, an elevator or some other kind of, it seems like everything here is a lot, it all seems to kind of hook up to the central cylinder. And some of it seems to be, facing outside, which is now covered by ground. So it looks like it might have been kind of surveillance and then dealing with this central cylinder.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to head. Well, I think the first thing I'm going to do is this is a big moment for me. I think I'm going to look around, and I'm just sort of in awe, silently touching at things.
Yeah.
And I think this is the moment when I take out the book
Oh.
And I like flip to a blank page and I just start like
Oh
doing
my
little
gosh.
tiny sketches and I'm like, okay, all right.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then I head towards the cylinder.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. Why don't you have 2 XP? One
Okay.
for discovering, like, making this big discovery that no one's made in thousands of years, into this ruin, and one for, like, this narrative you are now contributing to your mother's work. Like, you're at the precipice. So, and so XP can be used, in a long-term campaign for both advancement and for smaller term, like, benefits. So you can use it to re-roll any die roll. And I will also be complicating your life with GM intrusions. And so I will try to bribe you with more XP and you can say, screw off, Darcy, by paying me an XP, and then bad things don't happen to you. So you now have 2 bits of XP. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
cool. So you put the book away and you're checking out this central cylinder, right?
Yep.
Why don't you give me some kind of intellect roll?
Okay.
And and we'll just see how it goes.
Okay.
You'll get some information either way.
Yeah, okay. Should I add skills or just like straight?
Yeah, let's have you. So I think this would be probably like focus again.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you an asset because you still think this is sort of similar make as the circuitry
Okay.
outside. So this orange material seems to glow with just a very gentle light. And so you think that, it's a similar, you kind of get the feel for its nanite's ability, right? Cool. So
Okay.
it'll be +2 levels, whatever you roll.
Okay, I got a 16.
Oh my gosh. Oh, super cool. All right. So with a 16 and 2 levels of above that, you are sort of gently circling this cylinder. You kind of find that it has an entrance. So, you can gently just sort of touch a little spot of where a bunch of the circuitry meets and it sort of slides open for you like brand new. It's beautiful. And you take a step in. And that's when you realize you kind of have a toe hovered above a panel on the floor and you don't touch it because you notice that it has a little bit of a pulse to it. And you're like, oh, that's an alarm. That is alarmed. Like, as something about the way it's pulsing, with your scan and your sort of knowledge of maybe the last time you were exploring this ruin, you came across one. You're like, I know what that is. Okay. So you don't immediately touch that. But it's going to be kind of hard to navigate around. The other thing you notice is that there seem to be, you can look at the panel on the inside of the orange cylinder and you think it's some kind of like either, elevator activator or, it'll somehow move you from here to like the rest of the ruin. And you think there are 2 major buttons that you think one of them has to be the right one to sort of activate this and take you to the other place, but you're not sure which one. Even with your 16.
Right.
It's just really,
Right.
Without experimentation, it's a little too hard.
Okay. Well, now, can I get to the buttons without touching the alarm, or is it going to be something where I have to, like, traipse over it just right?
I think you have to traipse over it just right, but now that you know it's there, as long
Okay.
as you're not pressed for time, you can take your time about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to real slowly and real carefully, never taking my eye off of the thing.
Yeah. Cool.
Like, go for the, like, step over it.
Awesome. So there's, one of the buttons is sort of, like egg-shaped, and it's got kind of a pearly sheen to it. And the other button is like, looks exactly like that, but it's kind of a darker pearly sheen. And you just nothing about your intuition has taken, can give you, currently give you an intuition about this.
Right. Well, I think I look at the book and I can almost hear my mother be like, be rational, don't make impulsive decisions.
Yeah.
And I look at the book for a long time and I hear her say this and I look up and I go, only one way to find out, and I just jam the darker button.
Awesome. So you jam the darker button and you hear a bunch of alarms go off.
I tried.
Yeah. And so a bunch of alarms are going off, like the place kind of lights up around you. But there's some sort of rumbling beneath you. It does seem like it slammed the door behind you. So you're in there, but it doesn't seem to be moving you. It just seems to be like a lot of weird little, mechanical creatures are sort of coming out of the paneling outside. And they look kind of menacing.
All right.
Yeah. Are you going to try the other button?
Yeah, I know. Well, I think I say the exact same thing. I think I go, well, only one other way to find out, and I jam the other button.
Perfect. Cool. So things are like kind of going to total chaos there as you leave, but you jam that other button, the light pearly one, and you feel yourself sort of go fuzzy, go kind of immediately, sort of your vision goes, your hearing goes, and you just kind of feel warm and fuzzy inside, and there's no intake of sensation. Cool. And then you wake up in a dark and very enclosed, very moist space. There's like stuff, kind of goop all around you. You seem to be in some kind of enclosed thing.
How much mobility do I have? I think that's the first thing I'm going to try to figure out is like try to move my arms.
Yeah.
And
you can move your arms,
legs around.
You can move your legs, but you're kind of in a like straight position, and you couldn't really bring your knees to your chest. So there's some movement, but it seems to be in this elongated bubble. If you reach out and touch it, it feels kind of fleshy and it gives a little bit. So you could probably like bust out of this if you want, or you can try to figure out a better way. You can breathe. You don't know how you're breathing because you're in this kind of fluidy, weird space, but you're not suffocating.
I think what I'm going to do is... I think that this is perfect.
Ooh.
Aha. I'm gonna reach into my adventuring kit.
Yeah.
Reach into my explorer's pack and pull out my electronic nose.
And
I'm gonna fix it to my nose.
Awesome.
Like a clip-on nose ring. Because if there's a bunch of like goop and it's moist and I'm in some sort of a bubble, I want to get a sense of like what's around me, and I know that the nose will let me do that because it enhances my sense of smell, which allows me to detect odor signatures of various biological, biochemical, and chemical compounds.
Awesome. Cool. All right, so you activate this, within the little sludgy pod, you activate this impressive magical nose ring, and I'm almost thinking it gives you like kind of the effect that like they usually give like Daredevil, right? Where like you kind of have the equivalent of like echolocation with smells. So you can sort of get a sense of distance. And so outside of the pod, you know that there are multiple signatures of these other pods. Whatever you're in, there are several of them sort of in a circle around you. You're one of them. And then there seems to be like a lot of crazy, lush, like plant-like scents coming down to your like from one direction, and then from the other direction, you get the sense that there's like a lot of smells like char and like really destroyed, chemically burned smells are coming from like your right, basically, and it smells like really terrible from that direction. Like it seems like there's a lot of like crazy organic compounds that are not fun to go next to. So like one direction, it's like super charred and destroyed. The other direction, you can kind of smell this lush, almost like forest-like sense. And you can also, you get these little blips of like, there are animal life here, but not very much. And it seems to be, it seems to be like there are very furtive, but big animals around.
Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and, I suppose I should. Okay, yeah, I think I know exactly what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think I go to like punch through this bubble.
Awesome.
And I think I almost do it, and then I stop. And this time I do listen to the voice in my head that's like, "No, don't make impulsive decisions."
What did we learn?
Okay, what did we? No, not this time. No impulse this time. And I think I'm gonna like feel it out.
Cool.
Like just sort of like pat it around the side of it, specifically on the side of it towards like the sweet floral scents.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you kind of run your hands over it and give it, more than a moment, you can feel like a little puckered seam along it. And sort of as you kind of work your fingers there a little bit, it unfurls really nice and neatly, like much more neatly than this sack of weird sludge would have suggested. And it sort of, folds back like beautiful, parchment, like a scroll almost, right? And you find yourself, taking a breath of actual fresh air. And all the smells that you had smelled before come on way stronger. But now you have, light. And what you see as you open your eyes here is that, you're in this, like rectangular room where the gravity is not quite right. Like down is not a straight floor. It seems like you're in this rectangular room, but gravity is slightly offset so that you're kind of what would be the floor is on an angle. Okay. And then what would be, you think like probably a wall or maybe a ceiling, sort of what is functionally a wall now, far away from you. One of those is completely, see-through, and you can see that you're looking out into space.
Oh.
There's clearly some kind of planet sort of slowly rotating, outside, among other things. But you're in this big room. As you kind of look to your right, you see there's like what looks like a hallway that would extend with maybe some, rooms coming off, and it is just trashed. There's like lots of charring and like scratches, along that wall. And it seems like there's some kind of like security door type thing that had gone down and is still like messed up, but like there's really no getting through it. It looks like some kind of total lockdown. Okay. And then to the left, you have a reasonable hallway that, however, angled improperly. And it seems like that one of those, that clear wall kind of extends all the way along the hallway. There's lots of other stuff around, like lots of kind of debris and, weird bits of lots of used Numenera. Like this does not seem like it held up well during whatever sort of destruction had happened to it.
Sure.
But there's sort of a pile of, little metallic coins kind of by your feet. Is one of the things you notice that seems less destroyed. So do you like get up and get the sludge off or?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. I think most of the sludge. I get most of the sludge off.
Cool. You find that like
I leave a little bit on because it, feels like an adventure,
under your
right?
eyes, give you that.
Yeah. A little bit of war paint.
Cool. I'm going to offer you a GM intrusion.
Okay.
So normally in a game, I would offer you 2 XP and you'd keep one and give one to a partner, but we're soloing this adventure, party of 1. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to offer you 1 and you'd have to pay me 1 to deny it. A lot of times I'll tell you what it's going to be. This one I'm not going to tell you.
I think I'm going to accept the intrusion.
Cool. So have an XP. And so as you're wiping off some of the sludge, you kind of are, maybe getting some like big chunk off your feet. And you can see in the reflection of the sort of glassy, greenish, pod that you were in, it's sort of reflective in the light. You see that there's a large figure behind you. As you're reaching down to your boot, it's much taller than you, and it's got like, it kind of looks like it's in a big black cloak, but where a face would be is a giant red orb.
Ooh, okay. Interesting.
And when you look, it's not there.
Oh, okay.
So your scent didn't tell you anything, but who knows if a thing like that would even scent.
Right. And it's not, you said when I turn around, I don't see
Correct.
it. But I see it in the reflection.
But then you look back at the reflection and it's there. And then you look back at the reflection and it's not there.
I think, okay. So
that's all for now.
A quick rules question,
mm-hmm.
just so I can make sure that I know I do this flavor correctly. My hedge magic, which is just small tricks, costs 1 intellect point, but I have an edge of 1. Does that mean that it is? So then I think what I do is I look and this thing is behind me, and I turn to face it and it's not there, and I have like a handful of sludge like in my hand and I do my hedge magic, and I like open my hand real quick and it's just gone to be like, haha, and then I just book it down that open hallway.
Haha. Excellent.
And I pause for just long enough to be like, haha.
Super cool.
Wink.
Awesome. So you book it down the hallway. That's great. So, it doesn't respond quite yet. So you're booking down the hallway. And it's a pretty long hallway. You can still smell that lush thing, but it's like gonna take you several minutes to sort of get there, even if you're kind of jogging. Like it's this really long, building thing you're in, and it's still on its side. So you find yourself kind of running, and then you have to run back uphill to
mm-hmm.
As you're kind of getting winded a little bit. And,
right.
You're seeing weird things outside. Like, there's sort of the vastness of space when you put your face up to that glass. And it looks like there's some kind of lush planet sort of rotating below you, but I don't think that you would necessarily know what your planet looks like from space in the Numenera world. So it's a little hard to tell. But it is some planet that is probably could be inhabited. There's also, an occasional pod of like these cetacean looking things that must be really insanely big. But they're like 2-dimensional. So they sort of, you can see them when they are, facing one way, but as they sort of undulate, they sort of pass out of your ability to visualize them. And there's a giant, what you thought was like, that's no moon, right? You thought it was like a little, smaller planet. It's actually a humanoid, like some kind of giant humanoid with very ridgy bits on its body, sort of curled up in the fetal position, just hanging out in space. So all that's happening, just to give you weird Numenera in space business.
I think I'm definitely like running, but like I've got the book in my hand and I'm like literally like they're not even going to be legible to anybody except me. But I'm like scribbling down notes as I run, like, oh, gotta make sure I remember. I hope I can read that later. And I'm just still like making my way.
Awesome. Cool. So, you eventually, you pass a couple. Well, let me ask, are you trying to check out what you see as you go? Are you trying to just get to that like lush area? Where are you at?
I think I'm checking out things as I go. I think that the strangeness of where I'm at has sort of overtaken even my fear at this large thing that's not there.
Awesome. Cool. So, you booked it for a while and then you sort of like, as you realize you're not being followed, you're kind of taking your time a little more and sort of looking at what's around. So, at one point, the hallway kind of opens up into a bigger room that seems to have weird murals on it. You would call them murals, but it's really hard to like depict. It's really hard to tell what it's supposed to be depicting. It's kind of swirly. Okay. It looks like there's some, there's a progression to it, but it's like either it's some kind of really odd writing or just, abstract art or something. There's nothing symbolic in it, but you do notice that there's a spider about the size of maybe two large men sort of hanging out up in the top corner of the room, and it's looking at you with a lot of like little blue-green eyes, and it's not attacking, but it's just watching you and sort of fussing with its chalicery.
I think I'm gonna look up at it, and I'm gonna pull back out the book and just lock eyes with it.
Yeah.
And just start, like, doodling it.
Cool.
Keeping an eye on it as it keeps an eye on me.
Yeah, it's happy to do that.
Like, stopping in my tracks and just sort of, like, taking notes
on it. If you stay still for a bit, you do see that, like, a little, what you would call, like, a spinneret, the thing that gets all the webbing out. It sort of takes it out, and you can see that it's actually draping bits of colored material, and it's adding to this mural. So it's sort of actively adding to this strange, like swirly art piece that you're seeing. And it's just sort of quietly going to do that if you're not going to move very fast.
Yeah, I think at least for a little bit, I'm just going to stand there and like watch it work and like doodle it.
Awesome.
And sort of just as I'm walking by, I think I say exactly one thing as I'm like walking by, and I'm just like, it's lovely.
Aww. There's sort of like the equivalent of blushing with chalicery. It's sort of like fussy, like adorably chittering to itself. Awesome. So as you've sat there for a bit, you do hear something sort of clicking quietly down the hallway from where you came, after you. And you hear kind of like a huff, like something's getting winded as it's trying to like come your way.
I think...
And your smell is still active, and it's not organic, you don't think?
Okay.
It smells like something metallic-ish.
I think I'm going to... Is there somewhere I can, like, duck behind a corner or something and sort of peek out to see what's back there? If I see anything?
For someone who explores dark places, absolutely. You've definitely identified, a bit of an overhang of the wall or something, or maybe even you figured out that this mural can be peeled back and you can kind of hide behind it or something. You tell me, but you definitely get cover.
Yeah, I think I definitely, like,
peel back the mirror peel back the mural just a little bit, and I kind of peek up to the spider,
Right.
and it peeks back at me, and I'm like,
you have an understanding.
all right.
Awesome. Yeah. So this, you're well hidden just because this is your shtick. This is not hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you see kind of coming down the hallway is, what looks like about like a dog terrier sized creature. And it's some sort of automaton. It's basically like a millipede that's standing up on two, a couple of bigger back legs. So it's kind of millipede-ish. It's got a lot of little appendages. It looks like it is related to those coins you saw at your feet, over by the pod that you arrived in. It seems to be made of that material. And it seems to be, humming to itself and like steepling its top face, its top appendages to itself. And it seems to be fretting. It seems to have kind of a face, like more of an expressive face than you usually get with, millipedes. It almost looks, if not quite humanoid, it's got bigger eyes and kind of a more defined mouth. And it seems to be saying to itself, ho hum, oh dear.
I almost against my hardened survivalist instincts, I'm going to come out from behind the mural and just peek out and sort of like real tentatively just, are you looking for me?
So you scare the daylights out of this poor creature as you kind of come up behind it. And you can see that, so it turns around and it's got this very expressive face with, the equivalent of little millipede eyebrows. And it sort of like throws its appendages back in shock, and it turns toward you and says, "Oh, why, mistress, you've given me quite a scare. Welcome back." And it sort of scuttles up to you, and it tries to kind of like shake your hand with, about 10 little appendages at a time. I don't know if you're gonna let it shake your hand, but that's what it seems to be reaching out to do.
I'll shake its hand with my hands.
Cool, yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, your hardened survival skills tell you that this thing probably couldn't hurt you if it tried. It's got little dinky appendages, although things are not always what they seem. So, but this creature says, "Welcome back, mistress. I've been keeping a watchful eye stalk on the Habitaplex during your absence, and I'm pleased to say that your peacekeeping infrastructure has held stupendously. Why, we haven't had a report of theft in over 3,000 years." And it chuckles to itself really cutely. "But as you always say, never settle for good enough. What will we be doing today, mistress?" And it sort of like looks up at you hopefully.
I believe we will be... I'm gonna have to level with you. I think that you have me mistaken for someone. As much as I would like to bluff this thing, I don't know that I have the lie in me, if I'm being honest.
You see two eye stalks sort of telescope out toward you and sort of, look at you more thoroughly, and a couple appendages come out and sort of tap you, sort of chemically figuring out what you are. And it says, "Well, mistress, I'm afraid it must be you who's mistaken. It has been a long time, but surely you're the keeper of the Habitaplex. I mean, you were the one who was you said you would come back, and you're here. I think you must have maybe had a bad trip through the teleportation pods. Oh dear. Do you need the healing pods, mistress?"
No, I don't need the healing pods. Oh, well, perhaps later. I think what I might need is, I think I have to go back out.
Well, surely you won't miss. I mean, there's so much maintenance that needs to be done. You love it here. You're leaving so soon?
Unfortunately, I feel I must. There is, too much to do outside.
I see.
I promise it will be a short excursion outside.
Oh, well.
Not near as long as last time.
Of course.
And you've done such a good job of maintaining it.
Oh, cute. It like frills some of its little segments, like puffs up with pleasure. Well, you always told me that you didn't, that you felt confident that, Nioxel would be, a perfect keeper of the Habitaplex while you were away. And I do have to say, it is running better than I would have hoped with you gone. So it sort of gestures to itself when it said Nioxel. It seems to be its name. He says, "Well, There are, of course, several options to going back, or going wherever it is you're going. There are the Nightcraft docks, or, there are the rather dodgy teleportation, pods over there in that direction as well. Where is it you're trying to go, mistress?
I believe I'm going to the observation deck.
Oh, of course. Oh, we can go there easily. The tubes are down. I do apologize. The faster we'll have to walk it, but it's just at the end of this hallway. Let's go.
Wonderful. I follow behind Nioxel.
Okay, cool. So as you're going, you guys kind of come upon the this really lush area, which seems to be like a big kind of greenhousey thing. And so it's got this section sort of breaks open into kind of like, if you're going to look at, you're getting a sense of like the outside structure of this thing. And it's basically like a big long rectangle that you're walking along the long axis of in this hallway that has one face outside. And then as you get to this lush area, it seems to break open into a big sphere that's sort of placed in the center of this big long rectangular building. And so it's like a little bubble that you can like look out everywhere from. And so the hallway kind of just continues through the center of it too. But it's got little paths that can take you to this whole crazy jungle, and gravity seems to be doing even weirder things here. But you can go check it out, or you can stay on the path, and gravity does relatively sensible things, and you can go up toward the, like, she seems to be taking you to, or this creature seems to be taking you to kind of like the farthest end of this hallway, like maybe where command might be or something, you know?
I think I'm going to take some notes.
Yeah.
And then stay on the path.
Super cool. Okay. Yeah. Are you also like keeping an eye out for bits of ciphers that you want to like, you know, pull off? I mean, there's like stuff everywhere if you wanted to spend time on it, but it's up to you.
Yes, I was specifically when you mentioned like the greenhousey area, like the greenhousey stuff, I was thinking of like looking for like a small flower or something that I could like pluck and essentially append to my cloak, so that I would have like a thing that when I would come home I could point to. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So there are some
I should have asked if I could take a piece of mural, but that probably would have made it mad.
That might have been kind of rough. Maybe you got like a little piece of it on you when you were hiding, but okay. You know, it's just like a little flake of it. So you kind of got like the material, but you know, it's not much of a big piece.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to upset it anyway.
Right. You guys had an understanding.
Yeah.
Awesome. So there's a particular mound that seems to have a really, really interesting diversity of flowers on it. It's a little like watermelon sized little hump that seems to have some like moss and then a bunch of really interestingly swaying different kinds of flowers. And so that kind of caught your eye. So you're just going to go pick one of them or pick a couple?
I think I'm just going to pick one.
Cool. So I'm going to GM intrude you if you want to accept it. And you can or not, but what you realize is that as you're reaching down, 2, and then 3, and then 4 little arms sort of click out at you angrily, out from underneath the mound. And this seems to be the back of some kind of creature with a lot of little eyes, kind of crustacean looking, like a crab or something. And what you notice is as it sort of rears up at you, there's like some piece of machinery that it's using as a little house. And that's sort of overgrown with these flowers and mounds so that it's little disguise. And so it seems to click angrily at you. Mm-hmm.
Then I think in that case, I'm going to spend one of my XP.
Cool.
I'm going to, once it like rears up at me, I kind of like rear back as well. I'm like,
awesome.
Yeah. All right. And then I'm just like, I'm like definitely still noting things, and I've probably filled a few different pages.
Oh, cool. Point. Yeah. Cool. So you definitely like easily calm this creature down. Do you want to make me a quick intellect check to see if you know what this might be?
Yeah, sure.
Because this is actually something from the Ninth World.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna like flip. Well, I'm gonna ask you if I can justify using the book on Numenera as a thing.
Yeah.
Or a benefit here.
So a lot of times when I'm in a campaign, I'll have a book on some subset of Numenera. But right now, I think it's really cool to just have it narratively be like your mom's thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so my question to you would be, did she used to be like kind of an adventurer in her older days? And like, Was she kind of a naturalist as well?
Oh my gosh, she was absolutely an adventurer in the old days, though.
So I think she would have come across one of these. Like, it's in the early pages. It's like some of the really old stuff,
And I bet this is the moment that I realize it. Like, I look, and there's definitely like a real similar sketch, and I'm like looking at this sketch, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, because you haven't looked at the whole thing yet, because it's been too emotional.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that.
Oh,
yeah. So,
okay.
Oh, perfect. I really love that. So, This is a calyptrian crab, and they tend to. There are this suite of organisms that hollow out ciphers a lot of the time, and sort of live inside them, and so they can be really dangerous because occasionally they'll activate the cipher if they get in sort of a Scrabble. But you totally calmed it down and are sort of able to like flesh out some of her notes. It's really great. Awesome. I love that. Cool. So, the, little Nioxal is sort of steepling his little millipede fingers. He seems like, just sort of energetic now that you're here.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll let you, hang out at the conservatorium, as he calls it, as long as you like.
Okay. Now, is this, similar to the place where I was, or?
What do you mean?
I guess, I'm trying to figure out if I can get it to take me to a place where I can get back.
Oh, interesting.
To where I started. Under the guise of needing to leave.
Right.
Again.
Good question. So maybe you can like be conversing with him over this.
Sure.
And so it sounds like he's not great with directions, but he said, you basically he sort of like sniffs at you a bit as you're kind of talking about going to a very particular place. You were just there. You need to kind of go back and get this thing before you can come back to the habitaplex.
Right.
And so he sort of sniffs at you, and he notes, well, you're carrying quite a lot of traces. I'm sure one of the teleporters could lock onto your scent and, locate it. There seems to be some rare minerals. I believe it smells familiar. I think we should have something for you.
Oh,
I do also note that you have the biological material of several other organisms. Were you hoping to rejuvenate any of them?
Oh, no, I don't think that's necessary at the moment.
Okay, cool. He's just he sniffs at your book a lot, and he sniffs at the book and, some of the, like, that material of the mural that seems to have, he's sort of just identifying that you have bits of other beings on you. Cool.
It's been quite a day.
Oh, of course, mistress. You must be exhausted. Pardon my interruption.
Of course. No, I know that there's much more I need to get done before I can rest, so if I can get to these teleporters and be on my way, and I look at Neoxel real deep and I say, I will be on my way and I will return.
You like visibly see some anxiety sort of go out of him. And he like chills out a little bit after you sort of reassure him that you'll be back. Yes, of course you would, mistress, of course. Yeah, he's very cute. This lone guardian of this epic ship. Cool. So after you're done sketching it, I mean, there's lots more that you could spend time in this place, but you'd have to be going out on all these overgrown, little side passages. So if you're trying to get to
I think I want to get to the teleporter and then just take as many notes as I can as I'm walking.
Cool.
Because I really do intend on coming back.
Yeah.
So I think just making notes of things for now and almost as things to like follow up on.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, that's great. So you can definitely do that. So you pass by some other small rooms, and like it looks like some of the rooms, some of like the directions you could have taken off of this main thoroughfare have that weird charring on them as well. Like, something destructive came through here at some point. It doesn't, you don't seem to see it now. But after maybe like an hour of walking, if you're taking your time, Nioxel does eventually say, "All right, mistress, we're at the Nightcraft dock. I hope this hasn't been too rough on your physique. There are the healing pods nearby, and of course the teleporter pads."
Thank you so much, Nioxel.
I don't know what I would do without you.
Lots of fluffing and happiness. Gone back to sort of happy humming. And it seems to be sort of booting up some of the teleporter pads. But what you see here is that this seems to be, this is a rectangular room, and it sort of juts off of the main, long rectangle of this, bigger structure. And so it seems to be jutting out of the long structure. And, it's glass on everything but the floor right now. But one of the glass walls looks like there isn't even glass there. It looks like you're looking out into space, but that's clearly not happening because you're not decompressing.
Right.
But it seems to be that maybe where maybe ships come in and out, and you see two fairly derelict looking, I guess you would call them vehicles. They're kind of these feathery, dark, matte objects. They seem to have a central oval that could fit maybe 4 humans, a little squeezed. And it has a lot of, veins coming off of it that almost look like mechanical feathers. And one of them looks charred all to heck. And the other one looks like it's a little battered, but it might be functional. So they seem to be some kind of theoretically spaceship, since this is some kind of docking. And then along the wall, sort of away from the vacuum of space, there's, 4 or 5, I guess there's probably 4, still standing teleporter pads, which look a lot like the one you saw, the orange one you saw before you got here. And there seems to be a panel, one major panel that kind of controls all of those guys. And Nioxil is off there booting it up.
Okay. I'm going to go wait on the panel, I suppose.
Cool. Yeah, so he's trying to boot it up, and he seems to be struggling a bit. So,
well, in that case, I'm going to go over and see if I can help him.
He basically gets the power on, but he seems to be struggling to remember any of the other things. So why don't you give me some kind of intellect check to?
Okay. I'm going to spend some time. I'm going to really try to understand it as much as possible.
Awesome.
And I'm definitely going to spend an effort on it.
Cool.
Really, really get as much of this out of this as I can.
Awesome. So, I think it's probably a level 6 to get it to the point where it probably has a good idea of where you're actually trying to go. I think that's a 6 with his help, because he vaguely knows how it works. So it's not totally unintelligible, but it's still hard. So you're spending time on it, which takes it down to, a 5 with your keen ability to focus. Yeah, what else do you think would come into play here?
I'm going to spend 1 effort. Since I have an effort of 1, so I can only spend 1, correct?
Yep.
So yeah, I'm going to spend the 1 effort on it to drop it down to a 4.
You got it.
And I think that's it.
Yeah. The only thing I think is that if you wanted to sacrifice your nose cipher, there might be a way to kind of help hook it up and sort of amplify your own the residues on you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll do that.
If you totally sacrifice that, you can't smell really well anymore. You can take it down to a 3.
Yeah. I think I can make that. I think getting home is important to me at this point.
Fair.
So I think.
Cool. Yeah.
So it's a 3 now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
13.
Okay. Awesome. Perfect. All right. So after a while, there's this sort of hologram thing that it seems to be resolving as you kind of input more of the sort of debris off of you into it and sort of amp it up with this nose thing. And it's sort of showing you a little hollow of where it's trying to put you think. And so it sort of resolves a little better, and it seems to let you scan a couple times. It's letting you sort of scan with your hand, okay, it's narrowed down to this general 100-mile region. And so you can kind of drag it around where you want to end up. And so it's actually a really valuable overhead site of your country, which maybe gives you some other helpful information. It seems to be modern, but it's a little.
I'm gonna take a few moments of just sketching out the map.
Oh, cool! Yeah,
stuff anything that stands out to me. Just real quickly taking a 2-page spread of just noting things on the map.
Super
and then I'm
cool.
going to zoom in. I'm going to try to zoom in not on the site where I was, but on home essentially.
Yeah, cool.
to like really specifically narrow it in and just be like I was doing work here. If we can drop me here, that would be incredibly helpful.
Nioxal's like, of course, Mom, of course. Sort of as you're working that out, you start to feel a really heavy, like, thump against the whole, like, structure. Like, it seems like it got hit by something, and you feel yourself, like, kind of tumble over a bit. And Nioxal looks really panicked. And you can see, since you have a really good view outside, that big freaky humanoid seems to be, like, reaching out and kind of, like, poking at your structure, and sort of, it seems to be squinting its eyes and sort of looking in your direction.
Nioxal, has this been damaging the habitaplex?
He says, oh, mistress, thump. It had been sleeping for so long. I had hoped it wouldn't, wake and, upset the habitaplex again, but it seems to be our movements have, stirred it. It's not what did the fiery damage. That was a raid many hundreds of years ago, but, it has, severely destroyed the back end of the habitaplex. I think it's either reacting to you or to the both of us. You should go now. Perhaps if you leave, it will go back and rest. Thump.
I'm gonna look at Nioxal and just, my friend, I have one offer for you. If you would like, would you like to come with me?
It rings its little mini appendages. And there's one more thump, and he sort of like runs up and sort of like hugs at your leg, and it says, if I leave, no one will be able to take care of this. I'll wait your return. I'll see if I can shut the energy down after you leave.
Then do exactly that, and I shall return post haste.
Okay.
And I move towards the teleporter.
Awesome, cool. So it like kind of rushes you into it, and is sort of like tapping away to sort of activate the teleportation for you. And it looks longingly back at you.
I give it a salute.
Awesome. And then you do see, sort of just as you're teleporting away, just before your consciousness fades, that red orbed creature sort of appears right in front of the teleportation pod, like right up in your face as you're passing out. So it reappeared.
Okay.
Cool. So you feel yourself like go out of consciousness, and you tell me, where exactly in home do you wake up?
I think it gets me almost exactly to my bed or bedroll or whatever.
Cool.
I'm like almost, and I'm on the floor. I'm on like the floor.
Yeah, you're on like a pile of clothes
like,
or something.
Huh? Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, you're really sore. All of this has really taken a toll on your body. But you seem to be in one piece. It doesn't seem to have been a dream, because you have some vials that I don't think have gotten smashed in the exchange. And you've got that little piece of mural.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in that case, I am going to, I have a question.
Yeah.
I have one last question before, I do my closing scene. The snake that Vester contacted me with, can I put a message into it?
Yes, you can.
So I put a message into the snake that just says, Vester, my beloved business partner and friend, I have much to share with you.
Awesome.
And I send it on its way, and I sit back, and I like play with the vial a little bit.
Oh, cool.
And I look up to the sky, and I just whisper, post haste.
Oh, that's lovely. Ah. Thank you. I loved that.
That was so good.
Yeah, it was, a little weird, very emphasis on the discovery. I hope it was a reasonable amount of plot for you.
I loved it. I loved every minute of it. That was super cool.
I love your character.
Darcy. She's so great. I liked her when I was making her, and I just fell in love with her.
Man.
I really liked, I feel like we didn't really get a chance to, I feel like there's a really good epilogue where we see her helping out people in the community with a renewed vigor.
Yeah.
Because I think that she definitely learned from that, and from like all that, like meeting Nioxal and stuff. I think she kind of learned a little bit of like compassion, a little bit more of like understanding of like her role in things.
Awesome.
But I think she is making every effort to return as well.
Awesome. Super cool.
Darcy, thank you so much for coming on Party 1. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
Numenera works really well with 1.
Yeah, I think it does. I would play this again in a heartbeat.
I really would as well.
Yeah.
Darcy, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with things.
He's great.
He's pretty good. Take it, future me. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Darcy for coming onto the show. That was so good. I absolutely loved that. Be sure to follow Darcy on Twitter at Darcy L. Ross. Follow Monty Cook Games on Twitter at Monty Cook Games. And check out Numenera, a link to which can be found in the show notes. Then, while you're on Twitter, follow this show at Party of One Pod. Then go over and like it on Facebook at facebook.com/partyofonepodcast. And if you absolutely love the show, the best thing that you can do to help it is tell a friend. Whether by a social media shout-out, a nice iTunes review, or just playing it in the car as you go on your summer road trips. Every shout-out that we get, every person telling a friend, tremendously helps the show accomplish bigger and better things and warms my heart. And wouldn't you want to warm my heart? And the other thing that you can really do, if you're interested, is come on to the show. I'm always looking for cool new people to play cool new games with. If you're interested, shoot me an email at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. Party of One is produced by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. This episode edited by Jen Frank. All music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers. Until next time, party people, thanks for listening, and remember, future events such as these will affect you in the future.